September 17, 1944. Eastern Poland. The morning fog clung to the forest like a shroud. The ground was slick with dew and mud. A convoy of German trucks rumbled along the narrow dirt road, unaware that every movement was being watched. From the tree line, a lone figure adjusted a wire attached to a hidden cache of explosives. Her name was Maria Kowalska, a member of the Polish Home Army. Her hands were steady. Her eyes, fierce. The hum of engines grew louder. The soldiers inside were singing, confident, oblivious. One small spark, one carefully timed explosion, and the largest German supply convoy in the region would come to a crashing halt. This was no ordinary act of sabotage. This was history in motion. By September 1944, the war on the Eastern Front was turning. The Red Army was advancing, pushing the Wehrmacht westward, reclaiming territory lost in 1941. Yet German supply lines remained critical. Thousands of soldiers, weapons, fuel, and ammunition depended on a single arterial route through the Polish countryside. If disrupted, the front lines could falter. Entire divisions could stall. The Polish Home Army, a network of resistance fighters, had operated in secret since 1939. Farmers, students, and city workers turned guerrillas, trained in sabotage, intelligence, and stealth. For Soviet troops moving into eastern Poland, the Germans represented a diminishing but still formidable threat. For the Polish resistance, every act of defiance was a calculated risk. Failure meant death. Success could tip the balance in a larger conflict. The stakes were immense. And today, a small cell of fighters, barely 20 strong, was about to test them. The convoy stretched nearly 2 kilometers long. Tanks rumbled at the head, flanked by half-tracks bristling with machine guns. Trucks loaded with fuel and ammunition rattled behind. At the tail, German engineers moved cautiously, aware that partisans were active in the area. Maria and her team had spent days preparing. Dug pits. Laid wires. Scouted the route at dawn and dusk. Every tree, every ridge, every curve in the road had been memorized. From the tree line, Lieutenant Jan Nowak signaled silently to his comrades. They waited. Breath shallow. Muscles taut. One false move, one misfire, and the entire plan could collapse. Meanwhile, German officers inside the convoy were arrogant. They underestimated the local resistance as a nuisance, not a threat. Their radios crackled with casual chatter. Their boots beat the dirt with a sense of inevitability. The tension was palpable. The forest held its breath. The stage was set for chaos. At exactly 8:47, Maria pressed the detonator. A series of explosions ripped through the tail of the convoy. Fuel trucks erupted into towering flames. Steel twisted and groaned. Smoke blanketed the forest. The screech of brakes. The screams of men thrown from their vehicles. The resistance fighters leapt from the tree line. Gunfire erupted. German soldiers scrambled, disoriented and terrified. Tanks fired blindly into the smoke. The forest itself seemed alive with chaos. Lieutenant Nowak sprinted across the road, planting additional charges under another truck. Explosions shattered windows and hatches. The ground trembled. By 9:15, the convoy was completely immobilized. Nearly 50 vehicles destroyed. Hundreds of soldiers stunned, scattered, and trapped. For Soviet forces moving in the next day, the road was clear. For the Germans, it was a catastrophe that would echo through the Eastern Front. The small Polish cell had achieved the impossible. A feat of audacity, precision, and courage that far outweighed their numbers. The smoke cleared. The forest returned to its quiet. Birdsong timidly broke the silence. Maria Kowalska and her comrades melted back into the trees, ghosts among the leaves. Soviet troops arrived to find a shattered convoy. They were astonished. Reports of the sabotage reached commanders at every level. The effectiveness of coordinated resistance became undeniable. The Polish fighters' actions were a reminder that war is not only decided by armies, tanks, or air superiority. It is also decided by individuals willing to risk everything for the greater cause. Decades later, historians would look back at this moment. A small cell, armed with courage and cunning, had delayed the enemy, saved countless lives, and contributed to the momentum of the Eastern Front. As one Soviet officer wrote in his report, "In the quiet of the forest, we witnessed the power of the few over the many, and the courage of ordinary men and women shaping history. The forest reclaimed the road. The war moved on. But the echoes of that day remained, a testament to resilience, strategy, and the unsung heroes of World War II." As the smoke lifted, the forest revealed the true toll. Twisted metal, burning fuel, and abandoned supplies marked the path of destruction. German soldiers stumbled from their vehicles, dazed and disoriented. Lieutenant Jan Nowak surveyed the scene, his uniform smeared with mud. His team moved quickly, checking each explosive site, ensuring that every trap had fulfilled its purpose. They had succeeded, but at a cost. One fighter, Tomasz Lewandowski, had been slightly injured in a miscalculated explosion. The convoy's loss rippled through the Wehrmacht's supply chain. Reinforcements were delayed. Ammunition ran low. Fuel shortages slowed armored divisions. The Soviet advance in the region gained a critical edge. Yet the real story lay not in numbers, but in courage, planning, and the audacity of the few against the many. Historians would later highlight this event as one of the most effective acts of resistance on the Eastern Front. A small group, armed with nothing but determination, knowledge of terrain, and precise execution, had altered the momentum of war. The Polish Home Army became a symbol of resilience under occupation. Every operation demonstrated that intelligence, patience, and courage could rival brute force. Even decades later, surviving members of the cell recalled the operation not with pride alone, but with reverence for the stakes they faced. They understood the fragility of life in a conflict defined by chaos and destruction. This event stands as a testament to the idea that in war, the courage of a few can ripple through the tides of history. The sun filtered softly through the Polish forest canopy, highlighting leaves still wet from the morning dew. Birdsong returned. Wind rustled through the trees. Maria Kowalska, years later, would reflect quietly. "We were just a few. Just ordinary people in extraordinary times. But for a single morning, our choices reshaped the path of the war." History remembers the battles, but it is the unseen acts of courage that truly shape it. The forest slowly reclaimed the scarred road. The convoy's remnants were overgrown. The war moved on. But the echoes of that day, the audacity of a small Polish cell against the might of an empire, remained.